What's going on, guys? What would Vinny do? Thanks for tuning in, as always. So I'm going to start with a deal I just closed this week. 1-bedroom co-op in Pelham Bay on Bruckner Boulevard in the Bronx. It took a little while, but it felt good when it finally closed. It's a building I used to actually live in the Bronx, and I was happy for my client, Cynthia Spiros. She was relieved. I know that for sure. But in most cases with co-ops, it can actually be a harder transaction than a home. And the hard part is, there's a board involved that has to approve your client. So you could have the best client in the world, and for whatever reason, the board can turn them down and not say why. To me, that's crazy. Actually, it's actually really crazy with the way the world is today, where people get offended over nothing, over the slightest thing, and in the world, and you would think they would have changed a law about people who can actually discriminate and not tell you why they turned down the person you're trying to get to buy a co-op. But so the part about it that's weird is that people who are voting, like the board, it's called a board. So, and usually the people on the board, not usually, always own property in the building. So they have a personal interest in what happens, which that's always a bad way to start something, right? So you can own a co-op, and I owned a co-op before, and I had bad experiences and good experiences. I'm not trying to put down co-ops. That's not what this conversation's about. I made money on my co-op, and I'm just telling you the pros and cons to it, and what can happen. It doesn't happen all the time. So that's why I just look at people when they buy co-ops. It can be a good thing, but it just, like everything in life, it has its bad stuff, and I'm just going over both sides of it. And like I said before, they're a board. So on a normal transaction, you sell a house, you get somebody qualified, and if they can get a mortgage or if they have the cash, they get the house, right? In this transaction, you can get somebody qualified, and people can tell you that they're not allowing this deal to go through for whatever reason. And the people have a vested interest. They're owners of the same properties in the building. So like I said, so you're selling your co-op and you sell it for a certain amount of money. And the people on the board might think they realize that if they let that sale go through, then the value of theirs is going to be determined. Is affected by what they let that deal go through. So you could have been happy with the number you were getting, but they decide it's not enough, and that can be a reason why they don't let it go through. So it's just it could be a little sticky sometimes. There's some cases where you're allowed to rent them after you live there for 2 years, and then you can rent them. In some cases, maybe you can rent them right away. But again, it's up to the board if they want to say yes to the person you're trying to rent it to. And again, they don't have to tell you why. I just think that's weird this day and age, that they could just turn you down and not tell you why. And I've seen people with good numbers get turned down, and it's just baffling. Like high credit scores, a lot of money in the bank, great job. So again, they don't have to tell you why, and that's what always makes the purchase. If you're gonna buy it and live there, and it can end up working out great. You could end up. I bought a co-op. I lived there. I actually grew up in houses, so it was different for me to live in a building, but I actually enjoyed it. And I sold it. I made money on it. I actually used the money I made to buy my first house. So I don't want to make it like it's all doom and gloom. It can be good, and sometimes it can help you get into a place where you wouldn't be able to afford a house. So now you have something that you're building equity. But it's just sometimes that board can get a little dicey. That's all. So that was my story. Anyway, I'm happy for my seller. Actually, Cynthia, she actually I'm glad it went well for her, and I thank her for trusting me with the deal. And I actually sold her brother's house, Steven, and he went to Florida, and great family. He's doing well. He's DJing, doing what he loves, and that's what it's all about. So I want to thank them. And what else is going on? I started playing volleyball. My girlfriend got me into a volleyball league in Long Beach. We got smoked the other night, and it's frustrating because when I used to lose in basketball on that seldom occasion, I would go to the park and I would practice and just by myself, just bring a ball and just get in games, just play pickup games and just keep practicing and keep shooting and keep working. And I don't know how to do that with volleyball. Should I just go hit the ball off a wall? How do you practice? And I live in the Bronx, so that's my dilemma. I don't know how to practice volleyball by myself. If anybody knows, let me know a good way to do that. So I always talk about keeping people around you that have the same mindset, and we send each other like positive clips on the internet, and just everybody's always like talking about progressing and keeping the right circle around you to keep things moving in the right direction. So my boy sends me a video of Robert Kiyosaki, the guy who wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and if people haven't read that book, I definitely think you should. And the book is kind of about, and he talks about it in the clip. It's like a clip, like a 7-minute clip, and he talks about how and he mentions in the book, of course, that his poor dad used to always tell him, we can't do that, and we can't afford this, and his rich dad would always tell him, what can we do, and how we can do it. And it was just a different mindset from the beginning, from growing up. And I just watched another video that my boy sent me, and the guy was saying the same thing about kids, how they're programmed till they're 7 years old. So whatever habits they see their parents doing, they just do them. It's in their subconscious, and they just follow it. And it has nothing to do with how smart you are, right? A kid of a rich parent can actually be less intelligent, but just by following the habits of the rich dad, end up doing better financially. And I thought that was interesting. So a lot of people think it's about, right, how college and your degrees and all this stuff, but it has to do with habits that you pick up as a kid, like money habits, investing habits, and it's crazy that can be more important, little stuff like that. But I get it, because you are the habits and things you do every day. So even back to when I was playing basketball, I literally, and also your mindset of what you think you can do, like how he mentioned how his rich dad always told him, yes, we could do it, and if he didn't do it on the first attempt, he'd figure out how to do it. So you got to believe you can do things. Like when I always bring up playing ball. I felt I could beat anybody, and I think back to a day I was playing in a 3-on-3 tournament in Waterbury Park, and it was me, my boy Chris Shack, and my friend Anthony, little Ed, we called him Dome, and we played together a lot, and we had a good chemistry. But I was the biggest guy on that team, so I was like 6'2". I was skinny. I was young in shape. And Chris was smaller than me, wiry, strong, skinny though, and Ed was smaller than him, great shooter. But when a lot of teams we played were a lot bigger than us. So I specifically remember this day that we're having a tournament, and these dudes come into the park, and they're like 6'4". Two of them are like 6'4". They're dunking before the game, and I remember them asking the ref, who was a guy from the neighborhood, Wayne Gurman, he was running the league, and they're like, can we dunk in the game? I thought that was a funny question. Like, no, you can't dunk in a basketball game. But they were doing it to try to like intimidate us, like saying they were going to dunk on us in the game. And we looked at each other, and we actually laughed, because we were thinking, like, to ourselves that they were thinking that they were going to intimidate us on our court, and that wasn't what happened. I don't even think they got the ball. Like, we ended up just killing them. Like, so after the game, we were laughing. We were talking about how they asked if they could dunk in the game, but they never ended up getting the ball. So again, that's about mindset. That's what I'm talking about. Like, some people might be intimidated about their size and would have thought they couldn't have won. Like, we didn't think that at 1 second, and we ended up smoking them. My point was, right, we knew it, and we didn't doubt ourselves, and we didn't think these guys were too big. We can't beat. Like, when I was coaching my kids, like, sometimes in practice, they used to get upset if the other team had better guys on the team, and I'd be like, why? Like, I like that when you play against the team with the stacked team and you try to beat them. That's good. You got nothing to lose, right? They got all the guys on their team, and I still feel like you could beat them anyway. But again, that's mindset. Stop putting limits on yourself. You want to make more money selling real estate, then it's pretty simple. You will. You just gotta put in the effort. First, you gotta believe it. If you're putting in lots of effort and you're not making the money you feel you should, then it might be the activities that you're spending time on. Not every activity has the same reward. You need to focus on activities that bring back the most return on investment, ROI. That's the big thing. So today's August 1st. We're halfway past the point of the year. We got to try to finish strong and come out blazing for the next year. That's my plan. I think that should be everybody's plan. Like I said, daily habits, set a plan and stick to it. Surround yourself with positive people. That's important. We always talk about that people are just as driven and on the same mission as you. I believe just as kids, what the author Rich Dad Poor Dad says, kids absorb stuff. I believe being around positive people is contagious too. I think that can help you. So people that are making it happen, you start to get their habits and see what they're doing to be successful. I think that's important. I'm going to mention last thing that I'm really excited about. We started an investment group within our office, and we actually got our first property, and I think it's going to be great. I don't think there's a ceiling to how far we're going to be able to take it. I'm actually going to talk about this one. I don't really like to go into all the personal stuff with the investments and stuff, but I'm going to do this one. This is a group investment thing. Like I said, we got some agents together, and I'm actually excited because most of the agents that are involved, I know them, and I've watched them, like me, grind it out and stick with it and do really well in their careers. But over the long haul, they didn't just come in and they worked for it. And now we're going to come together, and we got a great thing going on. We got our first property. We're going to do some flips. We're going to do some buy and holds. We got a great business plan, and it's going to work the same way as when I thought in basketball we were going to smoke those dudes. This is going to work the same way. It's going to come out. There's no ceiling. I think we can take it really far, and I'm going to keep everybody in the loop, see how we're doing. Like I said, we got our first property. We're doing a flip, and that's it for this week. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. What would Vinny do? Keep liking our page. Keep sending comments. Again, if you got anybody you think should be on the show that's really killing it out there and going after their dream, love to have them on. That's it. Thanks again. See you next week.